We're going to stick to an economic tone for the start, but we're crossing over to the International Press Review. Oliver Farry is back in studio. Oliver, this story about Greece's bailout is still getting a lot of coverage.
That's right. The Guardian's editorial covers it today. It says that it's far from over, despite Alexis Tsipras and his government appearing to cave into EU and German demands last week. Tsipras may not have the victory he claims, the headline reads, but his battle with Brussels could still pay off. The Greeks present their plans in Brussels today. The Guardian says that the EU, under pressure from Germany, will probably send it back if it's insufficiently detailed. It says that that would be a mistake, though, as the last thing Greece needs right now is another public turn of the screw. Now, despite anger on the left of the party, Syriza remains quite popular in Greece. And it will be able to state its case again in June when this loan extension runs out. A Grexit could be chaotic, the Guardian says, and set a bad precedent for the euro. But if Tsipras is able to implement reforms, he might actually be able to get some debt eased at a later point. And he is, the British paper reminds us, sitting on a potential economic recovery. Now, over in the Financial Times, Wolfgang Munchau, who's a strong critic of EU policy on Greece, says the skirmish is over and the Greek debt battle begins. He says the creative solutions still exist to get out of the crisis. His options he floats include debt restructuring within the Eurozone, which include bonds pegged to GDP and parallel currency. He says the choice ought not to be between German exposed austerity and a Grexit. He said a shift of thinking is needed among Greece's creditors, but Greece also needs a sustainable plan B to convince them. In the Wall Street Journal, there's not much love for Greece or Tsipras. Simon Nixon continues to be a strong critic, as he has been in recent weeks. He says Tsipras can expect more humble pie. He says that unless Athens can display a so far unseen reforming zeal, they can expect more brinkmanship. He says a successful negotiation depends on trust, and that's in short supply now. He says that Tsipras and Yanis Varoufakis have spent the last month insulting potential allies, playing to the domestic gallery and stirring up hostility with Germany. He says Tsipras will have to capitulate on plenty more if he's serious about keeping Greece in the Eurozone.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why, but part of me feels there's going to be more final deadline days to come. Let's look now, Oliver, at the flight of young Europeans. We're hearing more and more joining the ranks of the Islamic State group in Syria. These 3 teenagers from the UK getting a lot of attention.
That's right. It caused great distress in England. The London Independent reports that the family of the 3 schoolgirls have pleaded with them to return home. They say the families cannot stop crying. It's left a big hole in their home. The girls had been interviewed by police, it appears, after another girl from their school went to Syria in December. Now, the police decided that the girls were not at risk. The police have come under fire from families, other families, saying how could they allow 3 teenagers to fly to Turkey without being stopped. Now, Commons leader William Hague, the former Home Secretary or Foreign Secretary, says that though the government can't see everything and that families themselves have a responsibility for their children, he said that parents would be within their rights to actually withhold passports from their children. Elsewhere in the Independent, Yasmin Alabai-Brown writes that the 3 girls are the latest in the line of women attracted to violent men. She quotes one Bangladeshi mother who says that maybe there was rebelliousness at play. They wanted to do bad, not good. Alabai-Brown notes that throughout history an awful lot of women flocked to fascists, communists, revolutionaries. Mussolini had a limitless supply of mistresses, and many women willingly joined up for the Nazi League for German Girls. And the female Islamic State jihadists, she says, are no different from those women who seem to go for men and messages outside civilized norms.
It does, yeah, it is quite surprising, such young girls travelling to such dangerous situations. Now, the debate over Sunday shopping here in France continues on, and the world has reacted. Yeah,
the New York Times weighs in on it today, a little bit late in its editorial. Maybe there was a slow news day. It says the heavy parliamentary weapon that Manuel Valls deployed to push it through Parliament might seem excessive, but it was a skirmish that François Hollande's government cannot afford to lose if he intends to get any more reforms passed. The Times notes that the objections of the French left, who see that a day of rest is under assault from the forces of consumerism. But the editorial says the reforms are in reality quite modest, and that 60% of French people are on the side of the government, according to recent polls.
Indeed, it's 12 Sundays a year in total.
Yeah,
no?
it's not an awful lot.
No, indeed. Now, finally, the Oscars taking place there in Hollywood overnight, and apparently a campaign to get reporters on the red carpet to change their questions.
That's right. The Washington Post reports that the Twitter hashtag #AskHerMore has been used in recent weeks to get better questions for Twitter for female actors than who are you wearing? Now, a number of people like Girls creator Lena Dunham and Oscar nominee and former Oscar winner Reese Witherspoon support this. This is, of course, the sort of question that male actors are rarely asked. Now, some reporters have sort of half got the message. Ryan Seacrest, working for ETV, asked model Chrissy Teigen who designed her dress before proceeding to ask the same question of her husband, John Legend, who, of course, won an Oscar for Best Song last night. Now, it comes as questions of sexism in Hollywood have been raised by the Sony hack, which actually showed that women are paid an awful lot less than their male counterparts. That's something that Patricia Arquette alluded to in her acceptance speech. And Hillary Clinton's supporters have also got in the act, using the hashtag as a way of getting the former Secretary of State to come forward and break the silence on whether she will run for president in 2016.
Okay, I have to say, in relation to the Oscars, though, I fear that equality will come in the measure of asking men also what they're wearing. I've seen a lot of that this year. Apparently, a blue marine is the in thing if you're wearing a tuxedo. Oliver Farry there at the International Press Review. Thanks indeed for that.